Yay! All right, so we're here at HowCon, that's horroraddicts.net's online writers convention. So we're having some fun this year with some little video. We're doing everything from home, so it's got to be fun and videoing, and they could see our faces, that we're real people and not some weird robot thing. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I have Michele Roger here, and hi, Michele.
Hello. Hello from Detroit.
Yes. Yes. And San Francisco and Detroit, and we're in the same room. Isn't that magical?
It's actually very cool.
It'll have to do until we get the transporters where I can actually come visit you in Michigan.
Well, if you did today, you would be surprised. We had this week we've had about a foot of snow.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool to visit. I don't want to be living in it anymore, but visiting is nice.
Yeah. Yep.
We are odd right now as far as like the temperature. It's like in the 80s today for us. I'm like,
my gosh.
What is up? No summer yet, okay? We still want
okay,
that.
well, you transport to my house for a little while, and then I'm coming to your house because 80 degrees sounds pretty nice.
Okay, it's a deal. I hate hot weather.
Okay.
Anyway, so if anybody doesn't know about you, like if they haven't read your books, don't know anything about your podcast, have not heard you harp play, do not know anything about your children's books, why don't you tell them about Michele? What's your deal?
What's my deal? Thumb in a lot of pies, the when you put it like that. So I write some horror and children's books. I have a book that I put out a couple of years ago called Eternal Kingdom. It's a vampire story. I also have another one that is called The Conservatory. And I recently did a children's book with my 6-year-old grandson called Huggy Muggy Doo.
That's great.
Which is based on a game and a poem and a rhyming game that we play. So anyway, and when I'm not doing that, I teach and perform as a harpist and a pianist. So
cool.
Keeps me out of trouble most of the time.
Yeah. If anybody tries to attack you, you got a harp there you can like throw at them.
Yeah, well, or just shielding. It's really heavy, so it's kind of more of a shield than a something that you can really swing. But yeah, it's like wielding a baby elephant.
And if you're from the Bay Area and you were at BayCon, I don't know how many years ago that was, 3 or 4.
I think it was
like that. You may have seen Michele on the panels and playing the harp, and that was a cool adventure. It was cool for you to come out and be with us for a little while.
It was a very nice visit. Cool. I hope to go back.
Yeah. We hope that the cons reopen, and supposedly 2022 BayCon will be back on. So we'll see. If that happens. So I don't want to do the same old stuff like, what inspires you? How did you get started? I want to do something different. So my question is, when you thought about author life, like before you were actually published and before whatever, and you thought about author life, how did you imagine it would actually be?
Sorry.
Because it's never how it is in the movies.
No. A dear friend of mine, Stacy Lewis, who was also an author. She and I went to university together.
Oh, okay.
We both were working other jobs, and we had this dream of both becoming authors. And so when we dreamed about it, one day she looked over at me over a cup of coffee and said, these are the dreams that are going to get us in trouble. And not really in trouble, but these were the dreams that, so I think we dreamt that maybe it would take 1 or 2 times, but we would get a book deal.
Uh-huh.
And the book deal would be so large that we could, she was living in London at the time, so she could get her little apartment, lovely overlooking the water kind of apartment here in Detroit, and I could get my little flat in London, and we could just, whenever one of us was homesick for the other, we could just fly back and forth and see each other. I mean, this is what we thought.
Jet setting
Yeah.
and
Yes,
rich
Jets.
and
Well, I mean, I don't know if coming back to Detroit was necessarily but I mean, we both envisioned that it would be, modest, but still we'd be doing really well, doing what we loved, writing all the time. And yeah.
yeah, and as we know, that's not exactly what happens, but we can still hope for it. But yeah, it's not really what happens, not really what life is like as an author. I think very rarely do they have the beautiful little apartment. And
yeah, the closest I came was she called me on the phone and said, "Oh, I found your book in a shop over here."
Oh, cool.
That was the closest we got. No one flew to see the other one for like their book opening or anything like that. But we did call each other on the phone if we found each other's book somewhere. So that was pretty close.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I always look in the bookstores for my book, even like the used books. I would always look for my friends and, myself and in the bookshelf. I found one of my friends' books in the shelf, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I opened it up and took a picture, and he's like, "Oh great, I'm so glad she liked it long enough to like put it in the used bookstore." I was like, this was supposed to be a friendly call, a happy call that your book was in the thing, but it was to, whatever her name was. And, oh, well, she gave it away.
Oh, no.
I know. So, okay. Now, this is another writerly question. If you could write anything, money is no object. Keeping a living is no object. Your life in general is no object. What would you write if you had no barriers?
Oh, ooh. I think honestly, I've always had this dream of writing a science fiction with a little smattering of horror musical.
Oh, really? That would be awesome. Yeah. That's exciting.
I studied theater, particularly like effects and props and lighting. That was my jam for a long time. So like I have it all in my head of how I would kind of do the effects.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't expect you to say that. No way. That's cool. I want to watch it. I want to listen to it. You got to do that.
In part of it, because I've actually like really thought about it, in part of it, when a ghost like comes to you in one of the scenes, instead of them like telling you, all the ghosts are silent, but they have like these ghosts in this play that I've dreamt up have like wings or auras around them, but we would how would I say, the image of their like past life would be displayed on the back, like video on their wings.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that was
okay. Yeah. Well, now that you've said it, you got to put it in your list. I mean, you got to write it.
Well, I could write it, and then I want to write all the music to it, but it would be getting someone to go, yeah, this won't be expensive to produce.
Well, that's a worry for another day. That's a worry for like a stage manager, okay? You got to get it written so that they can say that to you. Because on that day, you're going to call me and say, Ems, they said it to me. Too expensive. Too expensive to produce. I'm going to be like, I don't care. I want to see it anyway. Get those student, those student AV guys to like do something. They got to do something.
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe before, it's on the, the life list. I don't have a bucket list. I have a life list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe, I mean, not like writing an entire 3-act play and all the music for it is going to be happening anytime soon. But
it
sure,
would be a massive project. Yeah, definitely.
Because of course, being the control freak, I'd go, I think I want to say on all the costumes too.
Right. You'd want say on like from beginning to end. Like, yeah, I would too. Yeah. All right, here's another question for you. And this is kind of hard because I know as authors we don't have the best self-confidence, and we don't like to brag about our work usually. The good writers don't. we sometimes con ourselves into thinking that we should, and we do, but it's hard for us. So what is the best thing you think you wrote? The best thing, or one of the best things that you ever wrote that you're the most proud of?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to say probably it would be between two stories.
Okay.
One was probably one of the first ones I ever wrote. And it was called just because it was so creative and I had so much fun writing it. And I still get people who ask me after, I don't know, 11 years.
Okay.
So that one is Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, we had it on the
C-L-A-W-S.
show.
It's just a short little, but I go back and listen to it and it still makes me laugh. It's sort of a horror, funny kind of, and then recently the children's book I did with Finn, just because I'm getting like emails about how cool it is and how many kids have used it during the pandemic, and that's and now he of course thinks that he's going to be a writer someday, and that's all that positive. When that all comes back, that makes you feel like, okay, I did do something good with that. I mean, I like all the books I've written too, but those are probably the two that when I know that they either make people laugh or they make people feel good, and they do the same for me, then I know that those become my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. Well, I was trying to look and see what the what episode Santa Claus was on, so that I could tell them, but I can't find it. I'm sure it's here. I'm just looking too fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's one of the episodes of horroraddicts.net, and what I'll do is if you're watching this video, I'll put it in the comments so that they can go follow it and listen to that, because it is really a fun it's really a fun story. Yeah, I like it a lot.
It was just,
it's like kind of like a horror comedy.
Yeah.
All right, so talking about horror, what is the scariest book that you ever read? And if you know the title and the author, or if you can just describe you were hiding under the covers and creeped out.
So I mean, Pet Sematary scared me a lot. Okay, but probably the scariest book I ever read was Communion.
Okay, who's that by?
I'm trying to think. Oh, Jamie, let me look it up. Let me look that up really quick. Communion. Communion is about a man who isn't sure if he's going mad. And at night he feels like something is stalking him, but more and more he feels like it's real, but it's not so much the classic ghost vampire, it's an alien.
Oh. Scary.
but you're not exactly sure, and it's like he'll sometimes open his eyes and it's right next to his bed, it's watching over his
Oh
wife.
my
There's
God.
nothing gets said, but like, and then he's not sure if it really happened or it didn't happen.
Those are kind of the best
uh
stories where it's like, oh,
yes.
you don't know if you're going insane or not. Is it the character, or is it, is it the character, or is it really happening to them?
Right, right. Let me see. I
Oh,
think
cool.
I found it. Let me see. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, well, now they say it's a true
Ooh.
story. I'm not sure. But it's written by Whitley Strieber.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll also put the link in the show notes. I'm so podcast ready, right? We'll put the we'll put the link in the comments so that you can go and check that book out if you want to read something scary.
Yeah, oh, I'm just looking at the title and going, or at the book cover, I'm going, whoa. Yeah.
It brings back memories, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are the best books, really, that
They
freak
really
you
are.
out so much that you are thinking about them days and weeks later. Freak
Oh,
you out.
years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's creepy. All right. So now we kind of go off the rails a little bit. I'm going to ask you some silly questions. This is like, we're not talking about writing anymore. Actually, I'll get the one writing one. I'll do that one first. So these are like,
Okay.
would you rather? Okay.
Okay.
So would you rather be a best-selling author with no respect from the readers, just their money? Or would you like to be a bottom list author who is deeply respected? Tough, I know, especially in this
Tough.
economy.
Tough. Well, I suppose at the end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah, the bottom list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I have a feeling that, like, if you aren't respected, the money will go away soon. Like, you might have it now, but as soon as you piss them off, it's like, you know?
Yeah, you never want to be a flash in the pan.
Right, right, right. Okay, well, that was easier than I thought it would be. All right, here we get a little weird. Okay, so would you rather be placed into the body of this character? Okay, would you rather be placed into the body of Renfield from Dracula, or
Can I talk cool like he did?
yeah,
Okay. I just need to
or
know. I'm getting into character.
master?
I know.
Yeah, or into Frankenstein's monster? Yeah,
Oh, Renfield in a heartbeat.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's because he's just so close. I mean, like I do all the cooking and the laundry and the cleaning in the house. I kind of feel like him anyway. If I get to walk around and talk in that cool voice, oh, he's probably my spirit character. I should just start walking around with him, like him.
If you start walking around and you start getting like kind of creepy and picking
Yeah.
up rats and eating flies and talking with that voice, your family would freak out.
Well, or start cleaning up after themselves.
Oh, now that is a good effect that could happen. Maybe you want to set that up.
It's possible. I know. I'm thinking. All the gears in my head are going now. I'm like, she's onto something. These are great questions. I love these questions.
These questions are going to change your life.
I think they are in so many ways.
Okay, well, let's see if the next one can change your life. All right. So these are houses, okay? If you were given the house to live in, and this is where you live from now on. I mean, you're not trapped
Forever.
there. This is your house, okay?
Okay.
The Crimson Peak house. You know that movie, right? The Crimson Peak. It's kind of creepy, and the floor is going away, and the mud's seeping up, and it's all red, and there's that scary dungeon with the women in the bats or whatever. Yeah. Creepy. Yeah. Or the House on Haunted Hill House. It's from a while back, but it was like something like, gosh, I haven't watched it in a long time. But there were like some kind of parts of mental institution, and it was like closed in, you couldn't get out. But there were parts where there were mad doctors and mental patients that were haunting it, and all kinds of creepy stuff.
Yeah, I think I have to go with the first
Crimson
one.
Peak.
I really do. Crimson Peak,
Yeah.
I really do, because if there's a chance that I can get out, I'm better. I'm not a big trapped kind of person. Yeah. And you know, I know I restored a 100-year-old house. I might be able to fix the floors. It's just a joke. But I can't escape from the mad doctors.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think the Crimson House would be more my
I think also the Crimson Peak ghosts, if I remember right. I mean, the woman who was alive was trying to kill her, but the Crimson Peak ghosts were trying to warn her.
I would say, weren't the ghosts helpful?
Yeah, they were helping her. Whereas in Haunting at Hill House, they were trying to help you get murdered, and that was not a good thing.
Yeah, I think they're safety in numbers. I think I might take the
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, we have a question. Does the Crimson Peak house come with Tom Hiddleston?
Oh, wow. Gee, I hope so.
That might be a plus. Now, is it the Tom Hiddleston that's alive or the Tom Hiddleston that's a ghost? Which one would it be? I don't know which one.
Well, I don't know. At this point, any form of him on my side is fine with me.
Awesome. Okay, next one. Now, you have a roommate. Just pretend you're back in college, okay? And your roommate is either a wolfman or Freddy Krueger. Which one would you choose?
Well, I mean, for safety's sake, probably the wolfman.
Yeah.
Just because, well, you know, he's only going to change on the full moon, right?
Right. We hope.
And so
that's only 3 days.
And it's very
a month.
Yeah.
Roughly.
I mean, yeah. I could probably leave for 3 days a month, or lock the doors for 3 days. He can probably get through the door.
Yeah, he can get through the door.
Anyway, but
he has those claws.
See, I'm not really a fan of Freddy Krueger who can go into my sleep, into my dreams.
Right.
See,
and there's something a little bit creepy stalker about Freddy Krueger too. If he was like, I'm just picturing 2 beds and you're like sleeping, and Freddy Krueger's like, hey, and you wake up and he's just like, hey, you're like, dude, can you just like go away? What?
And are the things like attached to his hand, or does he take them off? Because, you know, like, have you been in a dorm room, or if those fall and I trip on that, like, that's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
So I'm really all for the Wolfman. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
much
the only
more
reason,
manageable roommate.
Yeah. I think the only reason is you might have Freddy Krueger is if like he did take those off and then like you ran out of razors, you could like use them, shave your legs or whatever. But yeah, it's not, the pluses are not outweighing the minuses with him. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you could always like make a roommate rule. Did you have roommate rules?
I didn't go to a college with dorms, so it's all just movie and TV that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because you know, I think what if my roommate rules would have been like pool noodles.
Was what?
Like, you gotta have pool noodles. Like, if he's gonna have the claws, can't come into the room without your pool noodles. Like, you'd have to pool noodle. Yes.
I could just picture that. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Okay. All right. Well, here's another one. You're going to eat at someone's house. You've been invited to 2 different houses, okay? One of them is Annie from Misery, and the other one is Hannibal Lecter. Which house do you go to eat?
Oh, well, Annie from Misery, for sure, because I am not going to be the main course.
And you're not worried about her tying you up. And I've read Eternal Kingdom, and I love you.
Well, again, I still may have a chance of not being the main course.
Right, that's
like
true.
yeah, no. I would say that's one of the scariest movies I ever watched was
Misery.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, I think I would take Misery. Yeah, Annie, she's fine with me. We're good. I could probably talk her out of it.
It could be BFFs.
Yeah. We'd figure something out. I'd write my heart out. She wouldn't have to do anything.
Right.
We'll write it however you want it. Just don't, serve me as the third course. Yeah, no.
Exactly. She might start saying, "You love Hannibal more than me." No, I came to your house, I swear. I don't love him more. All right. Okay. Okay. So this one is a little bit odd. So you have to sleep in one of two places. One is a Sasquatch's cave. And the other one is a Squidman's swamp. Which one do you sleep in? It's like on the one hand, you'd be in a cave, you'd be dry, whatever, but you are trapped in there with the Sasquatch who may or may not eat you. Squidman swamp, you'd be wet and mud covered like all night, but then seems like it would be a bigger space, like you might be able to get away from him, find a place to hide. But you're wet and muddy the whole entire night. Water,
yeah,
mud creeping in places. And whatever's in that water and mud, worms, crabs. Ugh.
I'm a little claustrophobic, although I have to say that I also would be a little afraid of like some of the Squidmans, like it's kind of mucky. Like, isn't that kind of quicksand-ish?
Yeah.
Could be. So I think I feel as though I would get stuck like in the mud and I wouldn't be able to get myself out. So this is a new answer for me, because anytime anyone would have asked me this probably 10 years ago, I would have said, I'll take the muck, because I was terrified of caves. But my husband took me black water rafting in New Zealand, where you go rafting inside of a whole set of caves. Wow. And I didn't think I'd be able to do it, and I yelled at him the whole time, but I made it, and I was like, oh, and so now I'm not afraid of caves anymore. So
cool.
It's a date. I got a date with Sasquatch.
You've got a date with Sasquatch. That sounds like a good title for a short story with a romantic. My date with Sasquatch. We went back to his cave, and he rocked me all night long.
You don't, when you're in a cave, at least if it's in New Zealand, you don't have to see the stars because you have the glowworms.
Oh. That creeps me out. Oh my God. Did they fall in your hair? They're like maggots, right?
Well, no, I mean, they're like way up in the cave, but they glow and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful. And then my husband leans over and goes, you know, the part that's glowing is their poop. And I was like, oh, I mean, you're floating in the water in this cave system that used to be a tunnel for lava. You're like, it was so overwhelming. It just got me over all of the fear, all of it. Because you didn't know what to be afraid of. You're like, well, okay, you know, the water's rising. I'm in a cave. That can't be good. I feel as though the walls are closing in on me. That can't be good. And now there's worms that could be pooping on me at any moment.
And did they
we paid to do? No, they didn't end up pooping on me, but I felt as though at any moment phosphorescent, you know, poop was gonna fall on me.
And if it does fall on
So
Is it like splat, but it's like glow in the dark?
yeah, it's like glow in the dark slime.
That is really weird. I have never heard that before.
It's called blackwater rafting. Yeah.
Did any of the worms like fall on your head?
No, not on me. No. I mean, and you're wearing, to be fair, you're wearing a helmet with a light, like a splunking helmet.
Okay. Weird.
It didn't make me feel any better either.
Well, okay, so one of my favorite movies is Suspiria, right? And like that one part where like the maggots are just like falling all over them and they're in their brush. She's like brushing her hair and the little maggots like in her brush, and then they're all falling and then the girl's all running and so that's what I picture. That like these, but except with the added effect of glowworminess.
Well, I mean,
and
the only
poop.
Yeah, the only positive thing about glowworms is that you can at least see them in the dark. You know, it's not like.
That's true, I guess. I mean, if you want to look at something positive, I guess that would be a positive. That you could actually see them coming for you, like, wow.
Ooh, good effect. Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. Mm-hmm.
I just remembered I had this little worm from Courtney's box of Ghoulie stuff that she got me. But, okay. I probably will not go rafting in the caves of New Zealand. Not like I had a choice of doing that. Like, oh, you know, I'm going to New Zealand next weekend. Yeah, I will not do the rafting.
There's a lot of other fun things to do.
I would hope so. I would. Because I would not be doing that. I mean, I don't know. It would be kind of cool to see. But
I knew I was in trouble when I was like, oh, this, you know, he talked about, he's done it like many times. And then they give the tour before you get there, and it's like you're doing the hiking thing and they show you how to jump on your raft and how to like climb through there's like a whole bunch of, I looked at him like, we're not really going to do all this. This isn't part of our tour, right? And he was like, you'll be fine. He kept saying, you'll be fine. Anyway, but when I heard that this cave in particular, where we went, was found by a pack of dogs, I was like, no human found this cave. It was found by because when you go in, you like have to, you know, like do this. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A pack of wolves isn't usually, I mean, you're supposed to stay away from
It was a pack of dogs.
Oh, dogs.
A pack of dogs, okay. But I meant dogs. They were
what
dogs.
What kind of dogs? I mean, like chihuahuas? Or
no, I mean, not very big dogs, obviously. I never thought to ask what kind of dogs. I should have asked what kind of dogs. Why, you know, you have to come with me on more of these things because you ask the important questions and I clearly don't.
Like, what kind of dogs are attracted to caves where those bugs are? Well, I guess they all would be.
I mean, because there's like lots of water for them to swim around in and play in and things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm going to leave that there because. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I thought there was a question, but it has nothing underneath that one. So let me just check. If anybody's watching and they have a question for Michele, I know probably a lot of people are still either at work or coming home or logging off their Zoom calls or whatever. But if you have a question and we're online right now, we can answer it. If you put it later, Michele will answer it in the little comment section.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Why don't you tell us about something that you've just released that they can go experience? Either podcast or book or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be just released, but whatever you're...
I mean, I have Tales of Terror, which is by Michele Roger, which is some of my books and short stories that are on podcast. And you can find that, you know, wherever. And I add to it. So whenever I have a short story, I usually put it up there. So I think there's at least one novel and a couple of short stories on there.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then, and if they if you go there within the next few weeks, I'm working on a new novel, and so what I tend to do is kind of write the each chapter's rough draft and then edit it a bit, and then I podcast it. And then if you want the edited, like, it's always different when you do the final edit before you publish, then you can buy the book, but at least you get like a little taste of it. And if you really like it, then,
Right.
So the new book is called Dreaded
Ooh,
Bliss.
okay.
So, and it's like one story about this weekend of these girls friends who get together, women who get together. But in it is about 5 different short horror stories about how each of them, what they're afraid of, their
Ooh,
biggest fear,
that's cool.
and how they experienced it over this weekend. So, it's one of those stories that kind of has poured out of me. So it'll be
Oh,
done soon, and so then I'll be podcasting it. So if you look for the
oh,
podcast, it's like Tales of, I think it's just Michele Roger, Tales of Horror Tales, on podcast. You
so
can find
search
it.
whatever podcast place they are.
Yeah, I
subscribing to.
use I upload it through Anchor, but FM, but it goes to everything: Spotify, iTunes, Google
Okay,
Play, whatever. Yeah.
cool. As Michelle with one L. A lot of people say that they
Oh,
can't
that's
find
true.
you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's one L.
Yeah,
But
you're
we'll,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
But I
You're
spelled it
right.
right on this thing. I hope.
Yes, you did.
There's
Yes, you did.
hey, I don't know where it is. I don't see any
You
name.
always spell it right. You always spell it right.
I always spell it right because my middle name is Michelle with 2 L's, and so every time I go, it's not yours. It's not yours. It's hers. that's the thing in my head.
Technically, my grandmother, who was French, named me, so it's not the way reason it's spelled that way. It's not Michelle. It's actually Michelle.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, who in America is going to call me that? But
Michelle.
Michelle. Yeah, when she would get mad at me, she would really add the accent on there, and really, I knew I was in trouble. Mm-hmm.
Did she sing that Michelle My Belle song to you like all the time?
No, that came a little after her time. I mean, she was like a war bride, so she had
Oh,
other
okay.
little, yeah. When I grew up in the house where she spoke French to me during the day, and my grandfather spoke English to me at night. So, you only knew you were in trouble, how much, like the degrees of trouble, depending on how many of my names and middle names she used. So,
Yeah.
but I thought to myself the other day, I go, I don't think I did that with the kids, and it wasn't fair, because you kind of knew, like, should you run? Should you just fess up to that, or should you just go in the opposite direction? Should you just turn around, go, let her cool off? Like, it was a kind of a helpful
Yeah.
thing, and nobody ever does that. But yeah. So yeah, Michelle. And there's a little like accent over the E.
Which is hard to get in English, anything. Like trying to find that little E. There is an alt code for it, but I never remember it. So I have to okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's really tough because like if you're trying to spell something, with it. Believe it or not, I've had to spell things like that with that little accent over the E for some reason, and I can't even remember what they were about. Maybe like fiance or like cafe before Word helped you,
Yeah.
Before everything went, oh, you mean, yeah. The snotty little Google Translate change that they do. Speaking about Google Translate, hey, I still handwrite my stuff, and I speak it into Google, and it's always got some craziness that it thinks I say. How do you actually write your work? Are you a computer person? How do you put it? When it first comes, what do you do?
It's changed over the years, actually.
Okay.
When I first started, it was a legal
Oh,
pad.
okay.
And a pencil, and then it went from a legal pad to these like gel writer pens. I don't know
Yeah.
why. They made me really happy for a really long time
Yeah.
to write in gel. But anyway, and then when they had the sparkly
Uh-huh.
ones, oh my gosh, don't get me started. There was like 5 years of sparkly pen writing. But eventually, as I kept writing, because it's like it's like an ever
Yeah,
evolving process, at least for me.
definitely.
My hand, when I wrote, couldn't go as fast as I could type, and I frustrated myself. So then I started just from idea to, and now I actually sleep with my laptop next to me, next to my bed,
You said you sleep with
because
a laptop. I'm just thinking of like Michelle's with her laptop, like.
yeah, it's happened. It's happened. I'm surprised no one's taken a picture of me between that and the cat on the other side. I'm like, um, but so in moments of insomnia, it's right there
Oh, that's good.
because I tend to dream my books.
Yeah. And do you
So,
type it in, or do you have the voice thing where you can?
I had I had a kind of a bad experience with the voice thing. It's not a bad experience, but when I just had, I don't even know. It was just a funny story. There was a mix up. I went to try to do voice to text, but my radio was also on a talk radio, and I thought that I thought I turned the radio down and then went to talk into my phone, but I talked into my phone to say that that it was supposed to go to my husband,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't shut the radio all the way down quick enough. And so I left this it was very lovely. He was plowing snow, and I said, well, I put the blankets in the dryer and they're all warm for you, and there's this in the oven and da da da, and how much I loved him, and went to work, and unfortunately said, just hit send, didn't think anything of it, and instead of going to him, it went to my landlord,
Oh my God.
who is the nicest guy ever. Um, but
Not exactly what you
uh,
wanted to send to him.
no, so now I have like this huge fear of voice to text anything. So I'm strictly a typing kind of girl.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I kind of have the opposite feeling about typing. When I'm typing, I type pretty fast, but my brain, um, my brain's fast, my fingers are fast, and like chaos comes out. Like writing something down makes me slow down, like makes my brain slow down and say it better. Like when I type and think, I guess you're always thinking when you're typing, but when I'm thinking of a story and I'm typing, it comes out kind of one shot, one step, like blah blah blah. She went here, she went there, blah da da. When I'm
Okay.
writing it, it seems like for some reason I have to construct the sentence, and it makes my brain like, okay, slow down, write it out. There's a couple of things that I've written, like when I first got my tablet, I was like, ooh, I could do things at work in the car when and I could actually be computing. I think Anime Girl is like a romance series that I have. Anime Girl 1 and 2, they were done on tablet, but I felt like after I did it, it took a lot more time revising. Because also when I'm writing and then I'm putting it in on the computer, that's another revision for me to like tweak things and
Okay.
make them better as I type them in. Right now I do the voice thing, and it kind of is the same thing. I'm reading, but I'll add little words in and tweak little stuff as I'm reading it in. And then when it's all read in, then of course you got to go through it because they capitalize stupid shit and oops, we're on Facebook. Okay. Stuff. They capitalize stupid stuff. They make, there's errors and stuff, so you have to fix it and stuff. So, but I love speaking in my stuff because I don't have to type it. My hand, tendonitis is horrible. So, but I still do the 2-step process where I write it and speak it in. But it's
Oh,
whatever works for you. That's what you got to do.
now when I did, if any of my characters send a letter to one another, I had worked on a project, a different kind of project with you where there was correspondence.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
in order to capture what I really wanted to say between these two people who are in love with each other, although I noticed all those letters had to be, when I completely revised it, had to be handwritten. I had to feel like I was actually writing the letter.
Yeah.
And I know it was one of my friends who was like, this, when did you write this? I was like, so they're like, this is amazing. And I was like, well, okay, so that when I write letters, I have to
Handwrite
hand write them like I'm actually
them.
writing,
Yeah.
writing the letter, and it comes out way better.
No,
So,
it does. It's like whatever you can do to get closer to the character, how
mhm,
whatever they would do, however they would think, whatever they would be listening to, wearing, sitting at, it makes it more real because you're actually you feel like you're more them, and it's coming from a place of what would I actually say to my lover? What would I actually say to this person who's threatening me or whatever? What would I actually do? It makes it more real to you, and I think it comes out more honest and more, yeah. No, I
there's almost always some kind of musical aspect to almost everything I write, and I think that's just because I started out as a musician
yeah,
before I got into writing. So I really think that that's, you know, it's part of everyday life
yeah,
here. So I would say, I don't know how to write something that doesn't have some kind of, you know, excuse me, musical aspect to it. So I would agree with you.
yeah,
In order to be closer to those characters, we write
yeah.
what we know.
And a
And when
lot
we
of,
don't, then we've got to do all these like funny little things to do it.
right, exactly. A lot of new writers will come up and ask, like, how can you get into the zone quicker? Like I used to have that problem too. I used to have my desk all set up perfectly. It's completely quiet with like just a little music playing, and then I could type. Well, as you know, being a mother and a and a grandmother, and
Mhm.
I'm sorry to say the G word,
Oh no,
but
it's okay. I'm
but
okay
you're
now. I'm okay. It's taken me 6 years, but I'm okay now.
okay. But life doesn't always give you opportunities for quiet and peace and everything. You have to get into that zone, and the easiest way to get back into something is to put that hat on. I don't mean an actual hat unless that helps you, but like to put that character on by like a certain song or a maybe whatever the mood, maybe opening the window if they're like a summer person and it's summer outside, whatever you got to do to put yourself right back into that character's life, that is going to help you. If you just sit there and try to, I'm going to write, and you try to write it, especially if there's other sounds around you, you're not going to be able to get there. You really have to figure out what that character's about, what they're feeling, what their soul's like. And I know I'm being woo, all
No,
hippy
no, I
dippy,
would agree. No, no. I mean, I was writing a character who was it was modern day, but they were in another country. And so I just looked up all the music from that country. I mean, I had been to that country before, but it had been a long time. And so that kind of helped me get there. And or sometimes I will just read the paper from a place.
mm-hmm.
If I'm writing about, I don't know, New York or something. So I'll send, I'll just anything to get that
Yeah,
vibe.
exactly. And sometimes my husband will walk by my office and then laugh at me because I'm listening to, I don't know, boy bands or something. And like I have this teen romance, and one of the guys is a boy bander, so I'm like, I gotta listen to the boy band that I, think of whenever, that's his voice, that's his, his being, to get into that, space. And it also brings back the times when, my best friend from high school was really into that band. And like, we used to watch tapes of them fooling around backstage and, all that kind of stuff. But it's just one song or one note or one like movie will bring you straight back into that time period in your life, and you can remember it. I think that's a really good tool to use, and especially as you get older and further away from the object or person that you were actually writing about, because sometimes you'll forget. So yeah, so whatever helps you. Some people are really connected to smells. If you need a burger, well, that's kind of a cop-out, but if you need a burger every time you write this one guy, Bubba or whatever, go get a burger, man. Your doctor won't say it's the best thing, but to get into that, headspace, maybe you need to eat a burger.
I write, I know I've written this friendship in this, one series of books, and they're all, whenever they're having a serious conversation, whenever they're really pushing the plot and they, they have to have a conversation, they sit down and they have a certain kind of tea and a certain kind of cookie. And so I keep those in my pantry so that I can sit in on the conversation, having the, like, and I just listen to them go back and forth and I type what they're saying, because then it just sort of, but I've tried it when I was at my studio, and I don't have the tea and I don't have the cookies, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go home. Then I came home, my husband's like, I thought you were going to stay at the studio and write. I'm like, I don't have the magical tea and cookies, though. And he just looked at me like, I'm like, I got to pack the magic tea and cookies. Never mind. I can't even explain
what exactly is in
like the poor
this tea, Michelle? Magic tea. Okay.
Yeah, that makes me hallucinate the conversation between the two characters. Yeah. I wish it was that much fun. I wish. Bigelow orange tea. Honest.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about your work, to say any links that they may want to go to, or any, I know we talked about a couple things that you're writing, but if you wanted to say anything about like where they can reach you, some product or podcast or book that you want to talk about.
Well, I mentioned a few of them. I've just re-released, it was originally published by a small press, and now I have it back. So I have just re-released kind of an editor's edition. It is a bit different from the first one, and that's Eternal Kingdom, the vampire story. All right. And that's for sale on Amazon.
Awesome.
And if you want to listen to some of it, that is on the Michele Roger podcast as well. So if you wanted to like take a little sample, that is what's on the podcast is the original story. What's now available for sale on Amazon has additional content, because I went through and revised it, because it had been, almost 10 years.
Okay. So Eternal Kingdom, either in book or podcast. And is there a main page that they can contact you on, or where all your stuff is? Or
right now I've had to move some things because of the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
So I took a lot of my writing stuff down. You can always find me on Facebook. I'm just as Michele Roger. But that is being a whole new website for Michele Roger's writing is being done right now.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be, but if you go to, michele-roger.com, you'll see all my harp stuff. But what was happening was, two worlds were colliding, and a lot of the emails it was getting lost in translation what all was there. So it was a little too much chaos. Gotcha. So we're separating them right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So, but you can always find me on Facebook, and
You were Super Saiyan, and now you're getting separated into two. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my husband watches Dragon Ball Z too much. You were combined into a Super Michelle, but now you're gonna be also Super Michelle, but divided into two bodies.
We're compartmentalizing the Michelle. Yes, we have to do that because, yeah. Yeah.
I know, I'm a little bit odd. Okay.
But we love you.
Because of the oddness, right?
Well, including the oddness. We love you for like a number of reasons.
That was nice.
And true. It's sincere. Come on. Absolutely.
Aw.
And when I come to visit you, I'm borrowing that whatever is the cool thing you're wearing.
It's a long roby thing.
Like kimono?
It's too long for me, actually. Yeah. It's too long for me, actually, because I'm short, you know. I'm 5 foot, and so it's like, you know, it kind of drags on the ground. But it's, yeah. I wear it very rarely, but it was very hot today. And instead of stripping on the Facebook show, I decided I would better change clothes and put summer clothes on for this 80-degree weather in February.
Well, it's very lovely.
Thank you.
And I'm with you. I'm 5'2", so I understand completely.
Yeah, you're a little taller than me. You're taller than someone in the world, and that's me. If you ever feel short, just know you're taller than me. You're taller than Ems. Oh my God. Okay, well, thank you so. We better get off before I get really silly, but thank you so much, Michele, for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
It was great.
I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, we're going back to HalCon, and we got one more day of it, which is Wednesday. Tomorrow is the Socialize and Networking Day, and don't miss our Historian of Horror Hour. He's going to be doing trivia, and we're giving away prizes. And then in the PM, KBAS will be doing a live forum chat. In between that, we'll have other stuff, but those are the two big things happening that are live. So come join us at HalCon. And don't forget, if you have been enjoying this, if you like this chat, or if you've been enjoying anything else we've been doing, make sure to sign up for our newsletter, because we're going to be emailing people when the next one comes around. And if you're an author and want to present, you can also put your name on there to be notified when our panels open up. So thank you for coming, and thank you for watching, and thank you, Michele.
Thank you.
Have a nice
It was fun.